As a beloved TV comedy, Bob's Burgers isn't what you go to for scares. Their Halloween episodes aren't what you would go to scratch that horror itch. They aren't even scary in relation to the Treehouse of Horror episodes The Simpsons produce. I would probably yield better results doing this with Treehouse of Horror, but I want to do this with Bob's, the feel-good show. You know what's scary? Comfort comedies. That said, there are episodes that do play into horror elements, and that is what I want to look at here and answer the question only I am asking. What is the scariest Bob's Burgers Halloween episode? Let's do this. Okay, Internet, before we dive in, I do want to mention, because this video is coming out before the episode The Twinning, I obviously can't cover it. Honestly, I don't even know if it is a Halloween episode at the time of writing this. I just know the general premise that does seem to be going for spooky. So if you are watching this in the future and want to tell me I'm a big dumb idiot for not bringing it up, thanks for the comment. Why not leave a like too? So like I said, Bob's Burgers doesn't really go for scares in their Halloween specials, but they have episodes with plots that feel like neighbors to horror. There is the obvious, like Season 7's Tina Witch, where Tina gets into witchcraft to help her win a costume contest, as well as make Jimmy Jr. fall in love with her. While it never actually goes into the fantastical for real, it does tie them into the holiday plot beyond just saying witches are Halloween. You have ghosts similarly done in Tina and the Real Ghost from Season 5, where Tina thinks she has a ghost named Jeff in a box that becomes her boyfriend, or how the masked candy thieves in Nightmare on Ocean Avenue Street is riffing on slashers. The idea of the supernatural blends great with the Belcher Kids story because they do have such active imaginations, and comparing stealing candy to serial killers also feels perfectly kid-coded. Losing all your candy on Halloween is almost like dying-ish. Then you have Heartbreak Hotel-oween, a mystery story, which is a genre that doesn't directly tie into scary, but is one that absolutely can, like we see in something like A Haunting in Venice. Full Bars from Season 3 not only has a mystery as well, but it is a murder mystery in the subplot. This one is a bit less of a stretch, because murder is scary, but these aren't as thematically intertwined as the first few I mentioned. Also, none of them are scary. Then you have the episode The Haunting from Season 6, where the plot itself revolves around how nothing seems to scare Louise and the family attempting to get her. Despite the plot being built around scares, they are mostly aimed at the characters and not the audience. It isn't meant to be a horror pastiche for us as we watch. So, with all that said, where are the scares? If you ask me, and since this is my video, I just get to assume that you do, there are 3 episodes that can really be in the running for the scariest episode. In release order, they are Season 4's Fortnite, Season 8's The Wolf of Wharf Street, Season 10's Pig Trouble in Little China. So let's go through all of them. Fortnite follows the Belcher kids and their friends planning their trick-or-treating and making a stop in the cardboard fort built in the alley that a truck parks in front of, leaving them trapped. Millie, a classmate obsessed with Louise, finds them there and decides to leave them in the fort, closing the dumpster next to them so they can't get out, and tricking Bob and Linda away from them to keep them trapped, and low-key torturing them, all because Louise doesn't like her.
Well, this experiment is called See How Much You Freak Out When I Release Spiders into the Fort You're Trapped In.
So in this we have, with full honesty, a psychotic horror villain without breaking away from the world and tone of the show. Instead, they are twisting it. Millie is totally deranged in this, and while it does land comedically, it is freaky because she doesn't realize how messed up her actions are, thinking what she is doing is a good idea. She leaves them there and is shocked when she returns to the fort being destroyed by the truck, something she had not thought of, giving her the Bob's version of comeuppance like so many horror slashers. Listen, I know that's not really Myers in that clip. I just thought it was a fun little clip. I liked when his head rolls. I thought it would be funny to hard cut to that, but now it is something that I'm feeling like I need to explain, that I am not uneducated on what's going on in this film series, and I've got laundry to fold behind me, and I just thought it was funny, and now I gotta do it. I love the internet. In The Wolf of Wharf Street, Bob thinks Teddy is a werewolf, and Linda goes out with the kids, first to trick or treat, and then looking for a wolf that the town has been afraid of. The episode has some really solid atmosphere throughout it, with all the fog and the anticipation on if and when they will find the wolf. This episode also works because the B plot is also gunning for comedic scares. With Bob high on pills from an injury, he is scared and paranoid with Teddy, so when we cut away, we aren't getting a shift in tone. Shift in tone being relative because, as I've been saying, the show is always a comedy before anything else. The creepy atmosphere also builds as the episode progresses nicely in the second and third acts as a horror film would. Finally, there is Pig Trouble in Little Tina, where we have an homage of sorts to Nightmare on Elm Street, where Tina is haunted by the thought of the fetal pig she had to dissect in class. This one leans into the disturbing in the way the Wharf Street leads into the atmospheric side of horror, with the fetal pig, both real and in dreams, being very gross by the show's standards. To rank these, an inherently subjective activity, I assumed I was going to make Fortnite the top because of my nostalgia for the episode. I rewatched it anytime they reran the episode after its initial airing when I still lived in a home with cable. But in rewatching it for this episode, it is light on the creep factor. Millie is fully unhinged, including her tricking the gang by putting fake spiders in the fort, but it is a smaller part of the episode. Same with the fetal pig stuff in Pig Trouble, some of the creepiest stuff the show has ever done, and honestly more runtime than we get in Fortnite, but it feels like a more substantial part of the episode because of how memorable it is than actual runtime. The Wolf of Wall Street feels like the horror-esque elements are the most integrated throughout the whole episode, especially once you hit that second act. But then you have to ask the question if atmosphere and scares are the same. They definitely go together, and the creepier atmosphere will bridge the scares, and that feels very valuable in a horror comedy because you don't want your jokes to derail the horror elements. So while it may not have the most scares, I think overall it feels the scariest, so that would give it the top ranking. But in discussing all of this, it does raise an important question.
Does any of this matter?
What is the point of me doing this? Why analyze how scary episodes of a comedy are? The obvious answer is covering a popular show, one that does well on my channel, and trying to tie it into an upcoming holiday. And that is true, but not exclusively. In revisiting these episodes, I've been looking at the show's versatility and been really impressed by it. Between the episodes I deemed as the most scary to the other ones that are more horror adjacent, all show how Bob's Burgers can shift out of its usual mode of operations without feeling like they are breaking from what they are. A part of that comes from the fact that they make sure the stories stay grounded within their world. When shows like Family Guy, American Dad, any of the others in this niche do Halloween episodes, The Simpsons most obviously, the episodes push the edges of the show's reality. A part of that obviously comes from those shows being more heightened in their reality to begin with, but it is worth noting how much Bob's Burgers stays within its whole. The series doesn't necessarily have the most scares because it's being grounded, meaning the focus of the episodes aren't on trying to be horror comedies, but really trying to be Halloween episodes first and foremost. You get so much more focus on the holiday itself and how the cast of characters, especially the kids, interact with it. Right from that first episode, Full Bars, where the kids go to a richer neighborhood because they hand out the best candy, to the kids' main fear in Fortnite isn't being trapped in the fort or being in danger, although that is there, but it is more about missing out on trick-or-treating. And then you have the wolf on Wharf Street, where nobody is out trick-or-treating at all because they are scared of the wolf. Even in Heartbreak Hotelloween, where Tina wants to help solve this mystery, while Louise is more focused on getting out of there to seek revenge on a house that didn't give her candy last year. And this digs in even with the adult storylines, where Bob and Linda are making a huge costume in Fortnite for the kids, or the pumpkining, where Linda and Gail go back to their hometown, as well as the restaurant dealing with a huge influx of trick-or-treaters because Bob got the most popular candy of the year. Everything ties back to the holiday and how their characters interact with it. Combine that with what feels like real small-town rituals like the haunted hayride in Pig Trouble, or the hell hunt in Full Bars, as well as how homemade the kids' costumes are because they aren't a well-off family that has the luxury of buying costumes every year, and you have a great base for charming stories. I am, like so many of us, a huge Treehouse of Horror fan. It served as a gateway to horror for me and so many kids of my generation growing up, and is a less threatening take on the genre for people who don't do well with horror as a whole. I do want to one day write something on the importance of the episodes, but it does feel a little daunting to do so. Huge legacy to tackle. But as much as I do love Treehouse of Horror and how it tackles both homage and original stories, I do appreciate how Bob's Burgers didn't try to replicate that, instead carving their own path for Halloween specials. Adult animated sitcoms owe so much to The Simpsons and define themselves as much by how they distance themselves from The Simpsons as they do by their similarities. While the idea of Bob's Burgers doing a full horror comedy episode seems like a lot of fun, something I would be really excited to see, I do love the space they have carved out for themselves in the world of Halloween specials, and how the charm and creativity of these episodes are a prime example of what the series does so well as a whole. The character-driven charm is why we love the series, and that is something the show never forgets. Thank you so much for watching. I love the Bob's Burgers Halloween specials, as I'm sure so many of us do, so thank you for indulging me as I take a look at them in the least straightforward way I could have, instead of just talking about each episode. Let me know your favorite out of all the Halloween episodes in the comments, or which one you find the scariest, your choice. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, have a good one.